Have you ever heard Elon Musk, China, and Tom Brady in the same story? It's kind of weird, ain't it? There's a little bit of weirdness going on there, but let's try to see if we can pull this off. So Elon Musk shows the new robot and then says, we definitely need universal basic income. It's eventually going to happen. This is based on the new Tesla bot. During a recent presentation on AI hosted by Tesla, Musk said he is working on creating a Tesla bot, a robot that would do dangerous, repetitive, and boring tasks so humans don't have to. But Musk recognized that the creation of this robot might take place of the jobs that are people currently getting paid for, which is why he said a guaranteed income will likely be necessary in the future. Essentially, in the future, physical work will be a choice. This is why I think long-term there will need to be universal basic income. Okay, so that's Musk. And he's talked about this before. This is not the first time he's talked about this. He talked about this when Andrew Yang started talking about the $1,000 to everybody, the UBI. And then Musk kind of supported it as well, right?
So just to be clear, Elon Musk is a UBI guy. Clearly,
Elon Musk
right?
is a UBI guy. And by the way, his argument is a valid argument because he thinks technology is going to advance human beings. Okay.
Well, when you're the person that's creating all this technology, you better be a UBI guy because you're going to put millions of people out of work.
FYI, he also becomes the most dangerous man in the world if he does that, just so you know. Because essentially, if you create these robots to be that smart, eventually robots take control of you. If you create them to be...
everything he's doing with the Neuralink and just thinking...
You have some theories about that. You think he wants to...
You know, I think he likes to bang aliens. I think
you've said that maybe once or twice before, maybe more than twice.
Take a look at his girl.
All right, so then let's watch Chinese authorities say overtime
Star Trek
996 policy is illegal. This is a Reuters story. Chinese authorities say overtime 996 policy is illegal. 996 is, you know, you're working 9 to 9, 6 days a week. Chinese Supreme Court said overtime practice of 996, working 9 to 9, 6 p.m. days is illegal, taking aim at the controversial policy that is common amongst many Chinese technology firms. Working such hours has become a badge of honor for some Chinese companies and employees. Silicon Valley heavyweights such as Sequoia Capital's Mike Moritz have highlighted it as a competitive advantage the country has over United States. Chinese tech giants, including TikTok owner ByteDance, have in recent months been walking back with their grueling work hours, including the big week, small week policy that requires workers to alternate 5-day work weeks and 6-day work weeks. So that's China going away from the 6-dayers, right? And Sequoia Capital saying they have an edge over us. And then that leads to the Brady story, okay? So we got Musk, we got China, we got Brady's story. Tom Brady disavows today's work ethic. It's not how to live a joyful life. Fox News story. Brady has some advice on how to be successful. Stop blaming everyone else. Life is about always changing and adapting on different things. Today, the world wants to blame and shame and guilt and fear everything all the time. We would never teach our kids that, you know. We would never say, this is how you're going to get through life the best. You're going to blame everyone when things don't go right. Brady called the sport the ultimate blame game. General managers, head coaches, players, quarterbacks, receivers, defense, offense. It's so easy to blame someone else. It's so hard to say, I didn't get the job done, and we collectively didn't get the job done. That's the best part about team sports. I picked a team where everybody's like, hey, we got to get better. It's not like I got all the answers. You guys just all screwed it up except me. Exact opposite way to play the game, you know. You got to play together. So that's what he's saying.
Man.
He's saying if you want to make it at that level, it sucks. It's not the way to live, and don't blame people. So what are your thoughts about the future of hard work? What's going to happen?
Phil, you want to start this one off?
Oh, my gosh. I mean, look, being a bodybuilder, you're your own first responder in everything you do. I got to get up in the morning. Even if I have Shuri wake me up, I still got to move. I still got to eat that food. I still got to get on that treadmill. This morning, I was like, gosh, I haven't trained legs in like a month, and I'm going to go do it. I didn't want to do it, but I tried to, you know, I live by my own accord. I say, live life like leg day. And that means like it's going to hurt. You have fear and anxiety or whatever, but you know what? There's a reward. And that reward isn't for everybody else. That reward is for me. So I have a dream of like what I want to do. And I'm like, look, I'm going to do this. And here's the best part about being a bodybuilder, that if I eat right, I get results. If I train right, I get results. Practice does not make perfect, because I can practice a lot of freaking bad habits. So I got to be a student of myself, and I have to evolve throughout my life, because what I did in my 20s, I damn sure couldn't do in my 30s. And I'm 41 now, and I'm learning a lot. And I'm scratching my head, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if I could apply what I know now to a 20-year-old Phil Heath, holy smokes. But that's life. and it has no rehearsal whatsoever. But you know what? I can't blame a coach. Even if I decided, you know, I work with Hani Rambod, right? Brilliant coach. I lost to Olympia in 2018 and in 2020, right? I could literally point at him and say, you know what, we didn't do this right. You didn't tell me this. Who hired him? I did. So, you know, like the level of accountability, I mean, people have to really start asking themselves, are they holding themselves accountable? Don't always look for someone else to do it, man. You're making your choices. And like Pat said, no one's forcing me to compete either. No one's forcing me to do this podcast. No one's forcing me to do shit. There are two things, the 2 C's I teach kids and stuff. Choices and consequences. You got to know the damn difference. And if you don't, life is going to teach your ass. And it's going to be a very difficult lesson. You just have to pray to God that it's going to be a very inexpensive lesson. Because if not, it's going to be a truly expensive lesson like we saw at the beginning of this show. Is that those are expensive lessons for you not understanding your choices in this life. That's where I'm at with this.
What do you think about it, Adam? So you got that great feedback. Obviously, you're talking about 7-time Mr. Olympia, and for bodybuilders, you're being judged for every single piece of muscle, every fiber, everything that you got going on, right? So for you, Musk says we're going to UBI no matter what. China, 996. Brady, it's not how to live a joyful life by blaming everybody. Take responsibility. Who's right?
Well, I think at the end of the day, why do humans work, right? Obviously, the easy answer is like, well, I got to get shit done. But I think work gives you meaning and purpose to your life. And like I look, it's funny because I'm sure the people with pets out there, you know, have the same thing. You walk out your door and I see my 2 cats. I'm like, enjoy your day, you two. Like doing nothing, right? You know, you got your dogs. All right, just be a dog. So dogs do dog things and cats do cats things and humans do human things. What do humans do? Humans need to work. Work gives you meaning and purpose and community and friendship and everything that comes associated with work and improvement. Like when you like the picture of you and when you were in Denver playing point guard or whatever, it's a different feel. Imagine if you just like obviously with baseball and everything you did with MMA and everything that imagine if you, Pat, never put in the work to be where you are today. You were just that 22-year-old still at Bally's being, whatever, I don't need to work that hard. I think there was what was the poll out here that survey shows that that people no longer believe working hard would lead to a better life. I want to know who actually took that survey and took that poll.
Who's raising these freaking kids? Yeah. That's my biggest question.
Well, I can tell you there are people that I know in the entertainment industry specifically that feel that way because they do put in crazy amounts of hours and they do put in all their art and their intellectual property to being a comedian. They're sleeping on couches and they're sleeping. Capitalism is phenomenal for most things. Everybody here knows that I'm a free market guy. Capitalism does art pretty poorly. That's one of the things. Education and art we don't do well with capitalism. All right, so there are people and they are talented and they're working very, very hard and they're getting nothing out of it. Then they have to do a job. Now where UBI comes in is it's necessary to stop revolution. UBI is going to become necessary because if you have somebody you talked about before, somebody that's a janitor, somebody that maybe tried to make it as a singer or something like that, got a girl pregnant, got a guy pregnant, got pregnant by a guy, whatever it is, and then necessity had to take over. Now they had to take the first job that they could, and they are a janitor. They're driving Uber. When I was shut down in non-essential tattoo, I went from 2 national tours. I was on 2 national tours 2 years ago to driving Uber and working construction because those are the only 2 jobs I can get during the pandemic. Those are the only 2 essential jobs I could do. I couldn't tell jokes. I couldn't go on tour. Everybody was going to get sick, but I could work construction and I could drive Uber. As mad as I was at the world for having to do that, if I didn't have that available, if robots had that job, and I was just sitting there with my credit evaporating and my savings evaporating, I would have gone insane. So if you have people that are taking jobs that they don't want just to survive, and they're already kind of skeptical about the system as it is, right? Or they feel skeptical about the system. And maybe they are working hard, but they're working hard in low wages where they don't see any way to move forward. There's only so much money you can work as a waitress or a bartender, and it's not like they're not working hard. Now, if a robot does that, which in Australia, I'm sure you've traveled the world, Patrick's traveled the world, you guys have seen this in airports, where now they don't even have bartenders in some of these places. You get a cup, and the cup has a false bottom, and you put it on, you put your credit card in, and you put the cup on, and it fills the beer from the bottom. It's not even a bartender. You don't tip the machine. So,
well, gee, give me. So are you a believer in UBI or no?
Dude, honestly, I wasn't, and I'm coming around to it because I think it's a necessity. Not in this moment.
Okay.
Andrew Yang is early on this.
So 20 years down the road.
I think it's a necessity.
20 years down the road.
I think it's a necessity.
Give me, like we've seen what happened during COVID. 2/3 of people staying home are getting paid more to stay home than they were in their job. You're collecting UBI.
I'm a Milton Friedman.
What are people doing with their lives?
I'm a Milton
If you're just
Friedman
getting
guy.
paid to stay home, what are people doing?
I don't think that's what UBI really is. I think UBI is supposed to be that basic needs are met. And I don't know the math behind it.
So welfare.
And I'm not necessarily sold on it. But I think it's something that has to be taken seriously, and it's something that needs to be researched as much as possible. And I know that this goes, this is a seeming contradiction to my worldview, but again, I just think that we're going to run into a situation where if you have 10, 15, 20, 30% unemployment worldwide, you have a nightmare situation. Unless you are going to have a global economy where it's going to be cheaper to have labor and you can go be a construction worker in Africa, then, you can like when I look at Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos going to space, I don't think about space. I think about international travel in 2 hours. I think about them going to the upper atmosphere and then coming back down in Johannesburg, and that could be your morning commute. Like that's what I think. Like if we're gonna have a global economy, I don't know, man. I think the world in 50 years is going to be so different than the world we have today. It's going to be incomprehensible for us to understand how we didn't function in those ways.
PBD, what was the name of the guy that he said, I got $10 billion richer during the pandemic, and the question was, does the money flow up? Does it flow down?
Up, yeah.
What was that story? Because I feel like that's where the money's going to end up with the rich anyway.
Unfortunately, what we can say everything we want about UBI, people, if you don't change their habits internally, they're going to keep spending money. Money is going to go to the rich. It doesn't matter what you do. You give money to UBI, we need universal basic income. Just think the money's going to the top billionaires. Just think about it that way. Like it's going to go through here to the billionaire. So this whole universal basic income is money to the rich. Great. Go do it. It's going to flow to the rich no matter what you do. Now, on the argument about robots taking over all this other stuff. Great. So do we know, do we not know? This whole thing about robots been talked about for a long time. Education is going to have to change. The approach to schooling is going to have to change. The approach to what jobs you go get is going to change. If you live in Bermuda, you know what's the number one job kids go get, what degree they get? What is a number one job kids go get in Bermuda? Can you guess what it is?
Yeah, it has to
tourism,
do with
hospitality,
math, and actuary. Yeah,
because the 5 reinsurance companies are in Bermuda. So when is the last time you thought about getting a degree in actuary? You don't. Well, in Bermuda, you do because you want to go and come back and work for one of the 5 actuary companies. So you have to shift the way you go get a degree. If you work in a place where the biggest employer is Ford, and you have to kind of think about, hey, I don't want to leave this place. I want to be in Detroit. Great. You're going to go and come back. Let's just say you're going to get that job. If you're living in a place where you're in Silicon Valley, everybody wants to hire a predictive analytics or an engineer. Guess what you're probably going to go do, right? If you're living in Texas in a farm place, raising cattle and that, you're probably going to go do that. So we'll pivot. We'll adjust. People will be pivoting and adjusting. But money's always going to flow to the people with the best habits. I don't care what anybody says. Money's always going to flow to the people with the best habits. This thing about China's 996, I hate to say this to you, but it's kind of impressive the fact that China is doing this. They're 100 years behind U.S. U.S., they did this with Ford because back in the days, the average human worker was working 69 hours a week. It was 69 hours a week that we worked. The average American worker used to work 69 hours a week. Today, the number's around 39 hours a week, right? Give or take, right? Versus 69 hours. Now, here's the thing with me.
Crazy.
I have worked 996 for nearly 20 years, but it's by choice. I have worked 996 by choice for 20 years. These guys work 996 by force. There's a big difference. I don't know a single billionaire that you meet who doesn't have a, 8-10-6 for 10 years or 20 years. That is a proven formula. If you want to make it to the high level, you got to really light it up for a good run that you go on. You got to go on that one run of yours, right? Yep. So this is mandatory for everybody that wants to kill it in their space. You need the rest. You need all that stuff, but that's that. And then the last part about people no longer believe in, working hard will lead to a better life. Really? Okay, let's unpack that. People no longer believe. Let's put a funnel. Put a funnel there, right? What's the funnel? The funnel is a kid is born. The first 5 years, the kid's influenced by who? Who's
Parents.
the kid influenced by? Parents.
Yeah.
And then from 5 years old, he goes to kindergarten. He's influenced by who?
Friends.
Okay. Then
Teachers,
from
teachers,
first
teachers.
to 12 years old, they're influenced by who?
Teachers.
Teachers. Do teachers? What percentage of teachers love capitalism? 10%? 20%? 30%? I don't know.
high.
Then go to college. You go to college for 4 years. You tell me what percentage of professors in college love capitalism today. Tell me how many of them.
Probably
I just
10%.
interviewed the communist professor in Riverside Community College. Liked the guy, had a great conversation with him. He fully believes the two of the greatest leaders that helped society the most are Stalin and Mao. He wasn't
Insane.
joking. He was 100% firm about it. I asked him if a 22-year-old kid has a decision today to be the next Jeff Bezos, create 1.3 million jobs, or be the next Stalin, what is better for the world? He says it's not even close, Stalin. If he becomes the next Stalin revolutionary, it's better for the world. This guy fully believes it. And he's not 22. He's 45 years old, our age, talking something like that, right?
That guy's 45.
Mid-40s. The
like
beard makes him
looks
look
like
old.
145.
But the point is this. When people say things like, surveys show people no longer believe working hard will lead to a better life. It's not. It should say professors
Yeah.
encourage kids to no longer believe that working hard. You got to change the wording to that title.
Or you could say you could work smart, not hard, or maybe you could do both. But the fact that just don't want to work
Don't
hard.
give me this BS about working hard doesn't
You
work.
gotta work harder
Yeah.
and smarter. I mean, in order to be competitive, are you kidding me? Pat just illustrated it perfectly. When I got into bodybuilding, October 8th, 2002, I said I want to be a bodybuilder. I recognized that I was at a disadvantage because I was going to go against people that have been lifting weights since they were 12 years old. Now I wasn't one of those guys, but yet I did have the genetics, right? When I turned pro,
gift.
when I turned pro 16 years ago, everything reset. I was a pro. I was 25 years old, and I'm going against the best in the world. And I'm thinking, I got to outwork them. I got to outsmart them, but it's going to take time. Okay. I didn't do the Olympia my first 2 years of being a pro in 06 and 07, even though I qualified. Why? Because I was like, I need more stage time. So I got on the road. I did numerous appearances to get my stage presence up. I knew nothing about that. I had no coach that taught me those things. I did everything in my power to make sure I can increase my capacity at a faster rate than everybody else so I can equal the playing field. Eventually, I'm going to catch their ass. And guys like Dexter, you can ask him. He said, eventually this kid is going to win because I knew that I had to do what? I couldn't train just one time a week. I had to train twice a day, twice a week. But then I was like, well, I'm going to burn out. Everybody's like overtraining this and that. Well, massage therapist, acupuncture, infrared sauna, hyperbaric, whatever it is. Instead of buying bullshit, I went out and spent money on those modalities to increase my capacity. So then eventually when I got there, I would arrive. And in 08, I did my first Olympia, got third. The rest is history. I was able to dominate during that time period because I had already made those other years profitable. So then when opportunity met, I was like, let's go. But
8 billion people in the world, only 4 have won Mr. Olympia 7 times. Okay, that's all you got to know.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
4
but
people
you have
won
to.
What do you say, by the way? Outwork,
out-improve, out-strategize, and the scariest one,
outlast.
outlast. It's the most
stamina,
intimidating
bro.
thing.
The
It's the
stamina,
most
bro.
intimidating thing in the world of competition. The fact that I used to tell my competitors, you can beat me one day, maybe a week, maybe a month.
Yeah.
You'll match my work ethic for a year. I will guarantee you're going to slow down. I'm not. I said, you're going to go. How many years are you going to go? I'm going to go 5 years straight. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to go 10 years. You're not going to last.
Or let me.
So that's the mindset that's intimidating. So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.